Hello and welcome once again sa isa na namang episode ng You Invest Philippines. Ang isishare kong video sa inyo ay tungkol sa American businessman at billionaire na si Charlie Munger. Si Charlie Munger ang vice chairman ng Berkshire Hathaway, isang conglomerate company dito sa US na headed by Warren Buffett, yung pinakamagaling na investor of all time. Now, si Mr. Munger ay kilala sa kanyang sense of humor at brutally honest truth with regards sa mga business dealings at transactions, pati sa pagkilatis ng business. So, wag na nating patagalin ito. Ito na ang mga quotes coming from the man himself, Mr. Charlie Munger.
Those of you who are about to enter business school or who there, I recommend you learn to do it our way, but at least until you're out of school, you have to pretend to do it their way.
People don't seem to get that point. You have any idea why, Charlie?
Warren, if people weren't so often wrong, we wouldn't be so rich. Yeah, I think you would understand any presentation using the word EBITDA if every time you saw that word, you just substituted the phrase bullshit earnings. So, no, I'm optimistic about life. If I can be optimistic when I'm nearly dead, surely the rest of you can handle a little inflation.
And of course, that's the other advice. The best way to get what you want in life is to deserve what you want. How could it be otherwise? It's not crazy enough so that the world is looking for a lot of undeserving people to reward.
Everybody wants fiscal virtue, but not quite yet. They're like that guy who felt that way about sex. He was willing to give it up, but not quite yet. Well, you don't want to be like the motion picture executive in California, and they said the funeral was so large because everybody wanted to make sure he was dead. It was investment banker-aided fraud. Now, not exactly novel.
That does not mean we approve of every buyback at all, though. I mean, we've seen...
No. Yeah. I think some people just buy it to keep the stock up, and that, of course, is insane and immoral. But apart from that, it's fine.
I've listened to so many nonsensical cost of capital discussions that...
I've never heard an intelligent one.
Yeah. Charlie's big on lowering expectations.
Absolutely. That's the way I got married. My wife lowered her expectations. Sure, there are a lot of things in life way more important than wealth. All that said, some people do get confused. I play golf with a man, he says, what good is health? You can't buy money with it. Well, there are a whole lot of things I don't think about. And one of them is companies that are losing $2 or $3 billion a year and going public. And in accounting, you can do things like they do in Italy when they have trouble with the mail. You know, it piles up and irritates the postal employees. They just throw away a few carloads, and then everything flows smoothly thereafter.
Folks. That happened in some unnamed international country.
Yeah, Italy. The general system for money management requires people to pretend that they can do something that they can't do, and to pretend to like it when they really don't. I think that's a terrible way to spend your life, but it's very well paid. Well, I can't give you a formulaic approach because I don't use one. If you want a formula, you should go back to graduate school. They'll give you lots of formulas that won't work. As Samuel Johnson said famously, I can give you an argument, but I can't give you an understanding.
It's extraordinary how resistant some people are to learning anything.
He volunteers.
No, the board at Lubersol did not breach its duty because we were not going to participate in the transaction if they didn't do it our way. Has anybody else got an easy question? And yet it's perfectly obvious, at least to me, that to say that derivative accounting in America is a sewer is an insult to sewage. It's not that great a business as a business, casualty insurance. It's a tough game. There are temptations to be stupid in it. It's like banking. But competency is a relative concept. And what a lot of us need, including the one speaking, what I needed to get ahead was to compete against idiots. And luckily, there's a large supply. And I don't like multitasking. I see these people doing 3 things at once, and I think, God, what a terrible way that is to think. I like cryptocurrencies a lot less than you do. And I think the people who are professional traders that go into trading cryptocurrencies, it's just disgusting. It's like somebody else is trading turds, and you decide I can't be left out. One reminds me, once I asked a man who just left a large investment bank, and I said, how does your firm make its money? He said, off the top, off the bottom, off both sides, and in the middle. Well, I would rather throw a viper down my shirt front than hire a compensation consultant. I think I've offended enough people.
Right. There's 2 or 3 in the balcony.
If you take the modern world, where people are trying to teach you how to come in and trade actively in stocks, well, I regard that as roughly equivalent to trying to induce a bunch of young people to start off on heroin. It is really stupid. And when you're already rich, to make your money by encouraging people to get rich by trading. And then there are people on the TV, another wonderful place, and they say, I have this book that will teach you how to make 300% a year. And all you have to do is pay for shipping, and I will mail it to you. How likely is it that a person who had suddenly found a way to make 300% a year would be trying to sell books on the internet to you? And it's ridiculous. And yet, I've described modern commerce. And the people that do this all day think they're useful citizens. The advertising agents that invent the lingo. And so in insurance, they say, the 2 people who shifted from Geico to the Glotz Insurance Company saved $400 each. What they don't tell you is there are only 2 such people in the whole United States, and they were both nuts. But they mislead you on purpose. And I get tired of it. And I don't think it's right that we deliberately mislead people as much as we do. Let me tell you another story that I think is an interesting one about the modern life. But this goes back to a different time. And this man has this wonderful horse. And it's just a marvelous horse. It's got an easy gait and good looking and everything. It just works wonderfully. But also occasionally just gets so he's dangerous and vicious and causes enormous damage and trouble and breaks arms and legs for his rider and so on. And he goes to the vet and says, what can I do about this horse? And the vet says, that's a very easy problem and I'm glad to help you. He says, what should I do? And the man says, the next time your horse is behaving well, sell it. Well, think of how immoral that is. And haven't I just described what private equity has to do? When private equity has to sell something that's really troublesome, they hire an investment banker. And what does the investment banker do? He makes a projection. You can't, I have never seen such expertise in my whole life as is created in making projections in investment banking. There is no business so lousy it can't get a wonderful projection. But is that a great way to make a living, to have phony projections and use it to make money out of people you look right into the eyes of? I would say no. And by and large, Warren and I, we never tried to make money out of stupidity of our dumb buyers. We tried to make money by buying. And if we were selling horse shit, we didn't want to pretend it was a cure for arthritis. And I think it's better to go through life our way instead of theirs. And I think it's always been this way. I think there's always been chicanery. Think of the carnivals, the carny operator. Think how much trickery there is in a carny operation. And people just seek out the weaknesses of their fellow man and take advantage. And you have to get wise enough so you avoid them all. And You can't avoid them if they're in your family. I have no solution to that one. But where you have a fair choice, there are just so many people that should be avoided. My father had this best friend and client, and he also had this other client who was a big blowhard, and he was always working for the big blowhard, and he wasn't ever working for his wonderful client whom I admired. And I said, "Why do you do this?" And he said, "Charlie, you idiot." He says, "The big blowhard is an endless source of legal troubles. He's always in trouble, overreaching and misbehaving and so forth. Whereas Grant McFadden treats everybody right, the employees, the customers, everything. And he gets involved with some psychotic, he walks over there and makes a graceful exit immediately. So a man like that doesn't need a lawyer." And my father was trying to teach me something, and it really worked. I spent my whole life trying to be like Grant McFadden. And I want to tell you, it works. It really works. Peter Coffin is always telling me if the crooks only knew how much money you could make by being honest, they'd all behave differently. Warren has a wonderful saying I like. He says, "If you take the high road, it's never crowded."
O ayan mga kasama, natuwa ba kayo sa mga knowledge na na-share ni Mr. Charlie Munger? If you find value sa mga ganitong klaseng video, please like, comment, and share this video para naman makita din ng ating mga kapwa investors. So, once again, masasabi ko lang na si Mr. Charlie Munger ay isa sa mga idol at mga guru sa investing world. Patuloy natin siyang subaybayan sa kanyang mga moves about investment. So, once again, this is You Invest Philippines. Maraming salamat po.